Everything in my video on a public domain and the full disclaimers down below. Welcome back to the Danger Zone. It's Ashley. I wish you lots of love and many blessings. A huge thank you to someone who would like to remain anonymous. Thank you for your help. The 6th of June in 1996, Darlie Routier, and I hope I said that right, was sleeping on the couch downstairs in her living room with her two oldest boys, Damon and Devin, ages 5 and 6. The children were sleeping on the floor. Like I said, she fell asleep watching TV on the couch, leaving the sound to the TV on. Her husband, Darren, was upstairs sleeping in their bedroom with their youngest son. He was a baby. His name was Drake. She and her two children downstairs just so happened to have been brutally attacked. The kids, Damon and Devin, were stabbed. Darlie had her arm and throat cut, which was determined to be self-inflicted wounds. Darlie told the cops that she woke up and found an intruder in her home. He fled through the utility room out into the garage. Cops who responded to the scene discovered that one of the large windows in the garage was open. The screen had been cut from the inside. Upon waking up, she discovered this someone was in her house. She followed the intruder to the utility room. She told the cops who dropped a knife on the floor that she had picked it up, and this was not an unreasonable action because she herself was unarmed. However, the action of picking up the knife later caused police and prosecutors to doubt her entire story of an intruder, because after she was admonished by the police dispatcher not to touch anything, she acknowledged she had already touched the knife. Darlie quickly realized that picking up the knife possibly compromised fingerprint evidence that could have been obtained. After the police officers and the investigators spent some time looking through her house, they discovered that there was a lot more to this story than what she was telling. Along with the evidence that they found, which totally incriminated Darlie, they also wiretapped the grave of her two sons, in which she threw a party, was laughing, dancing, smacking her gum, making it really all about herself, shooting silly string over the graves, balloons. It was a mess. She and Darren met in high school, and he said it's always been about her. She always needed to be the star of the show, the belle of the ball, but he was so in love with her. Darren went on to finish school and became an engineer, and the couple lived in a huge house in a beautiful neighborhood. Nothing was ever good enough for Darlie. She never had enough of enough. It was never good enough for Darlie. She overspent and overspent and overspent trying to keep up with the Joneses, landing them in huge debt. About a year prior to all of this happening, they took out huge life insurance policies on the children. She really thought that she could get away with killing her children, making it look as if an intruder came in and attacked her, just so that she could collect this life insurance, pay off all her debts, and continue moving forward. Every bit of the evidence from the crime scene that she destroyed pointed right back at her. The dog never barked until the first cop showed up. The motion-activated lights never went off. She took a knife and tried washing it in the sink. That was proven with luminol. One of the police officers on the scene was telling her exactly how to help her child that was sitting there bleeding to death. She refused to touch him. You would do anything for your child, especially in that situation, would you not? On the 18th of June of 1996, the police arrested her. They charged her with 2 counts of capital murder. She was indicted by a grand jury on both of these counts of murder, but the prosecution only moved forward on the charge pertaining to her youngest child, Damon. His young age at the time of the murder made it possible for the prosecution to seek the death penalty. Today, she sits on death row in the state of Texas. While in prison, she's had tons of psychological evaluations, and it was determined that not only does she have a sociopathic personality, but she's a narcissistic with borderline personality disorder. It's been said that the narcissistic personality disorder is one of the top 3 most difficult personality disorders to treat. It's defined as an ongoing pattern of grandiose, as well as a need for admiration constantly, and a lack of empathy for others. It's also said that it's 3 times more common in males than females. These people have a deep self-love. They believe they're knowledgeable and indeed experts in everything. They're usually shocked when they're not praised for their efforts. They rarely own up to their mistakes or wrongdoings. They rarely apologize when the occasion arises. They insist on having the best of everything. They're grossly defensive and unable to look at themselves objectively. It's always somebody else's fault. Inflated and false sense of entitlement, a lack of sensitivity towards others, and they feel they deserve whatever they want or need. These people are extremely self-absorbed. When it comes to helping the needs of others, they can only do so through gifts or money, for they're totally unable to give emotionally. People see them as super arrogant and snobbish, very condescending. These sort of people are extremely sensitive to criticism. They just can't handle it. A sociopathic person lacks empathy. They have difficult relationships. They're very manipulative. They're extremely deceitful. Sociopaths have a reputation for being dishonest. They often feel comfortable lying to get their own way. A sociopath is extremely callous. They might openly be violent and aggressive, but most of the time, they just like to belittle you and cut you down in front of people. Not only are sociopaths hostile, but they're more likely to interpret other people's behaviors as hostile, which drives them to always seek revenge. They ignore their responsibilities, especially when it comes to financial and social obligations. Sociopaths are extremely impulsive. Combine the irresponsibility, impulsivity, and a need for instant gratification, it's not surprising that sociopaths get involved in risky behaviors. They tend to have little concern for the safety of others or for themselves. And someone with borderline personality disorder has a huge fear of abandonment. They have unstable relationships. They're unclear or shifting self-image constantly. They're impulsive. They have self-destructive behaviors. They have extreme emotional mood swings. They have chronic feelings of emptiness, explosive anger, feeling suspicious or out of touch with reality. A lot of times people with borderline personality disorder struggle with depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, anxiety disorders, and this was the end result of the analysis of Darlie Routier. This is just my opinion, but after reading up on this case and finding out the analysis of Darlie Routier, it reminded me so much of Maggie. The only reason I even read into Darlie's case, I'd known about it, but I didn't dig into it, is because I was sent a copy of her handwriting, and I thought, wow, this looks super familiar. You hear about handwriting analysis and graphology an awful lot, especially forensically, and so I dug into that a little deeper, and I found out typically people that share the same handwriting share the same psychological behaviors. That is frightening. I had no idea that graphology was that accurate when determining others' personality characteristics. I'm not making a diagnosis either way. I'm just telling you what I found. Here is a copy of Darlie Routier's handwriting, and comparing that with Megan's, it's super eerie. Their handwriting's nearly identical with these huge loops and curves. Everything is so big, and according to the graphology, that's the narcissistic personality. It's the look at me factor. Looking further into graphology, if you really want to know who somebody is, look at their handwriting. It's amazing what you can find out. I never had a clue until this was shared with me, and I dug a little deeper. Wow. Now it's just my opinion, but it just seems that this allows us to see what Harry lives in, his relationship with Megan, what it's all about. It's insane, but that's just my opinion. And another piece of evidence that really proves the graphology, this whole forensic handwriting analysis situation, to be quite accurate. I ran into an article last night. It was put out by International News, and they're pretty reputable. And it went on to say how Megan was doing the Queen a favor. Megan was making a huge sacrifice by staying back in the States, allowing her man to go over there and be separated from him for several months. But it was in the Queen's best interest. Megan didn't want to show up and be the center of attention like she knew she would be. She wanted the Queen to have all the attention. After all, it's her birthday. And I'm absolutely sure, just like my buddy Peter said, there's going to be some Meghan supporters there. There would be several paparazzi, I'm sure. Of course, they're now walking on eggshells. But at the end of the day, it's still centered around the Queen. Meghan is so big in her head with this narcissistic personality that she really feels like she's doing such a huge favor for the Queen by staying back in the States and making such a major sacrifice. You see what I'm saying? I think it's safe to say we now have a little glimpse inside Harry's world. Boy, no wonder he always looks miserable. You guys, I hope you're having a great day today. I'll see you soon and we'll talk much faster. Please stay safe and be blessed.